All right, I think we're getting to 2 minutes past the hour, so I think I'll get started and folks can trickle in as we go along. So I will start by opening our document. So yeah, welcome everyone to the sync. Today's 30th of July. Yeah, there's a lot of things to cover here, so I won't go into each and every one of these items. But the first update here is the fact that we updated our lance.org site over the last couple of weeks. And yeah, please look at the new website, including the docs. And if there's any things that stand out, please let us know on Discord. We'd love to know if there's any stylistic things that you'd like to see. But this is much more easy to navigate and hopefully easier on the eyes. And then lots of performance improvements in the Lance format. FTS was a thing that improved drastically in the last few PRs that went in on this section. So we can see here we have 4 stacked PRs that kind of contributed to 7x increase in performance. And a lot of additional stuff is incoming with regard to FTS performance as well. So if you're using FTS in Lens, check out the V2 FTS and upcoming V3 and V4, which we will also announce. Lots of performance improvements there. And then there's been performance improvements to filtered vector search as well. So basically the pre-filters no longer computes distances in excluded filters. Again, pretty large performance increase when you're running filtered vector search queries on certain kinds of indices. There's a lot of updates on the distributed index building side. So I'll point to some of the PRs here and you can look at those. Python 3.14 support is now available in PyLance. And there's also a lot of updates on the code side. So the full text search for code feature in Lance is now actually getting there in terms of maturity. Hopefully people are already trying it out and using it. But yes, there's the new code analyzer for full text search that was added. So if you're building code search apps on top of Lance or LanceDB, this is something to look at. I think that covers some of the updates, but definitely a lot of interesting things in the GitHub repo. So look at the issues and file new issues if you find anything that stands out. From a release standpoint, we shipped version 9 of V9 of Lance SDK last week. And the version 10 betas are out right now. So please try those out and let us know if there are any bugs. I think Will, there's an update on the Spark status here. So maybe you can speak to that.
Yeah, I hadn't actually checked it on Spark and if we've released a version of that yet.
Is Dan on the call? If not, then yeah, whoever can speak to this can raise a hand. Otherwise, we can revisit this.
Yeah, I'll check it out. It might be unblocked now.
Okay.
I think the status is it was blocked before, but now it's unblocked. So I think we fixed some bugs. Okay.
And by the way, the Spark release here is Lance Spark, you mean?
Yeah, Lance Spark. We wanted to do a release corresponding that uses 9.0.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I think the big topic today in discussions is the voting process. We did bring this up in the last discussion, but hopefully more people can weigh in today and you can give your updates on this. Well.
Sure, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna try not to take up too much time in this, but it will take a little bit of time. Okay. So what I wanna do is we talked a little bit about how we wanna change our voting process. I think there's been some issues with it, both taking a long time and not getting the level of feedback that we'd like to gather in that. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to ask a few questions, or pose a few questions to get folks sort of rough opinion. And then I want to sort of consolidate that into a proposal that I'll put in front of the PMC to sort of change how we vote on things and move forward with that. So I put some slides we can quickly go through. First, awesome. Some background. So just a reminder, like the way it works today is that if you want to change the format, the protobufs, the format specification of how things are supposed to work in the table format or the file format, you need to do a vote. It requires 3 PMC members to vote on it, excluding the person who proposed it. It requires a 1-week minimum voting period. and it happens in a GitHub discussion that points at the PR in GitHub that actually makes the change. And if anyone votes -1, that's a veto, and it sort of stops the vote and gets us back into discussion about what would address this. And then some background on like what's actually happened. As far as I can tell, looking back, I don't think any proposal has gotten a -1. So it doesn't seem like the votes, like the format changes have been contentious, or if they're not, they're just not getting the feedback they need. There is a high percentage of them that don't get responses. I think we have like 7 of 25 that got no votes at all, -1 or +1. And then a lot of them do drag on much longer than the voting window. So while I think some might be constrained a bit, but like, oh, it kind of sucks to have to wait a week. In general, like the constraint seems to be more like getting the votes in the first place, not having, we typically more likely, won't have the 3 votes by the 1 week period anyways. So getting the votes is just as important as adjusting that window if we want to. So that's the quick background. Any quick questions on sort of the state of things now?
So Will, what is the next actionable step here? I mean, for the community to know.
That's what we're going to get to. The next 4 slides are each specific questions about how we could change things. And what I want to do is I want to get some feedback on them and get a straw poll and to see where people stand on them. And then I'll use that as a guide for like what should be the concrete proposal.
Cool.
Makes sense? Okay, cool. So question number 1 is like, where should we vote? Currently we vote in a GitHub discussion, and then separately we have to like go to a PR and approve that and merge it. So one alternative, I think we brought it up, is what if we just eliminate the GitHub discussion and we just put it in a PR? That sort of consolidates things and simplifies things. But that's a change. The other thing is we could use a developer mailing list. This is more sort of the style what you might see in Apache Air or Apache Parquet, where all votes go through a mailing list. The upshot of this is that for PMCs members who aren't regularly looking at the GitHub discussions or PRs for that matter, it goes to their email inbox, and so it's immediately visible to them that a vote is going on, and then that they can participate in it. So yeah, so I guess I'm curious, where do people land on this?
Yeah, if anybody would like to speak up, that would be awesome as well. Or yeah, go ahead, Shama.
Yeah, first of all, I want to kick out list because it's very hard to let my agent to read the emails from list nowadays, and it's hard for me to automation everything because nowadays I rely on automation tasks from Codex to reading PRs and reading issues and reading the discussions for me. And if we have a dev list, then this can be much more complex.
Makes total sense. I think dev list would have made sense in a pre-agent era. It's just that it's not very easy to integrate with agents now. And again, email in general, I think is a little bit more cumbersome, unless it's a human scanning every single thing. I have one point about the PR versus discussions. So right now, I think your point says that we are having the discussion in 2 places, right? Essentially, we start with the discussion, then go to the PR, then we go back and forth between the 2. Mm-hmm. So I guess the proposal here is saying if we do discussion or PR, one of the 2, the entire process would be communicated only in that one single PR number or discussion number, right? It would not be linking between 2 of them.
Well, I think my point is, no, I think we would keep linking in the discussion piece. Like there's no not doing the PR, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Because you have to change the little proto files, and you have to change the spec files, and that has to happen through a PR. So I think no matter what choice you make here or we make here, there's going to be a PR.
Yeah, so I think Weston's point
it's
is
PR
that
only? Is it a PR link from a discussion, or is
Right.
it a PR linked from an email?
Yep. I was just going to say Weston's point down seems to be in favor of PR only, which aligns with what you're saying there in the slide. Sean, would you feel the preference of PR alone makes sense?
Yeah, I want to sharing how I for my recent works for Lance recently that is I have a huge demo PR that I have a huge demo PR that might have like 10,000 of lines, a very huge PR include everything I want to change in Lens. And this huge PR is not for merging. It's just for discuss. Like hey, I have this idea and I want to change Lens in this way. Do you think this is a good direction for us to go? And if we all agree with the direction, and I will split this PR into a stick, like I split it into 10 PRs, and I merge those PRs one by one. So in this case, do you think it's a good idea for us just to leave the discussion in the double PRs only, instead of start a new discussion?
So your concern is that if you slice it into, let's say, 5 or 6 reasonable sized PRs, we might need 5 or 6 different votes, and that would be very tedious.
Fair.
Yeah.
I think that might, I was just to say, that might also depend a bit more on how some of these other decisions of like what we flag as requiring a vote and not requiring a vote as well. Because we could say that only the last PR requires a vote, or only the first PR requires a vote, or something like that too.
Yeah, my presentation is I think, and I think something we've actually talked about before is we should separate the format change and the implementation PRs. And the one we vote on is the format change, which is very narrowly scoped to. Here's all the changes to the protobuf files. Here's all the changes to the format spec docs. And then there's, the minimal changes necessary to the library, which usually just means, hey, I can't read this error. And that's the first PR, and that's the one that we vote on. And we can sort of codify that. But yeah, like I think, and then the rest of the PRs, they're just normal library changes that aren't format changes.
Will, so if I remember correctly, there is a tag system we already have in place that does this, right? Like we have a format change tag that gets assigned to only those specific PRs. It won't be assigned to those PRs, but it's just implementation details for a spec change, right?
Yeah, there's a labeler that distinguishes format changes from non-format changes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't particularly love the way the label is decided at the moment, or like I do. It is identifying format change versus not format change, but I'm not necessarily sure I'm in agreement that all format changes require a vote.
So I guess then distinguishing that in the GitHub repo,
Yeah.
so that
we'll get to that question.
really important.
I think Weston, we can get to that question in a bit.
Go ahead, Drew.
I was going to say, with that being said, but when does the vote start? Is it when the PR gets raised, or when all the feedback and everything gets addressed on that PR?
I would think it would be when the PR is raised. Like the goal is to give, I mean, maybe we need a timer for both, but like the goal is to give, the whole goal of the time period is just to make sure that, people in different time zones and working on different projects and things like that have an opportunity to look at something. I guess, yeah, you could create a PR with like a 1-line change, and then 7 days later or whatever, you could make 5,000 lines change. So, okay, I take it back. It probably has to be at some point when it's ready.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say we're tentatively leaning towards PR only. for now. And let's maybe we can look at the other questions and come back to this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next question is how many +1 votes should we need? Do we want to adjust this at all, or do we want to keep it where it is? I think possible options. One is keep it 3. Another option is reduce to 2. And another option is reduce to 2, but have some sort of affiliation constraint. I think that last one, if we lived in a world where we regularly had voters that were from different affiliations, and a lot of them, I think I'd be more in favor of that, but I think we do have a fair amount of votes that are just constrained by we don't have enough people actively voting on them. The participation is low, and mostly the only votes we're able to get are through a single affiliation. Where do people lean on this one? Chono?
Yeah, I love the idea about like to reduce it to 2, but with an affiliation constraint. But one of my concern is some of our some members in our PMC are not very active. I think there might be some data on how our PMC member voting on on those votes. I believe only 2 or 3 members have voted for something before. So if we have a constraint, many of our votes can be stopped here. What do you think?
Yeah, so option number 3 definitely seems restrictive from a pace of movement standpoint, because we don't want to be blocked by having a very strict criteria that we can't satisfy in a time frame.
I mean, it would also force us to encourage other organizations to vote. I think part of it too is that a lot of the votes are on things that people don't care about.
Okay.
So maybe if we address some of the other issues around voting in this one, it's not so bad. I don't know. Maybe not.
So I guess having 2 or 3 does not tend to change the overall time to clear the vote, right? I mean, I don't see how bringing it down to 2 actually benefits the whole process. Yeah.
I wonder if we have any data around, maybe initially it's like keep it at 3, but start tracking how many votes come from different affiliations and just reporting that on a regular basis to encourage people to diversify that.
Yep.
Yeah. I think there's a case to be made that really the focus should be less reducing this threshold and more increasing the number of votes we get and participation, and that's more valuable.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to move on to the third one. And this should be like, what should the voting period be? I think right now we have 1 week period. We could shorten that to a 72-hour floor. We could just eliminate the voting period and just be like as soon as you have sufficient votes. Or you can add an expiry, sort of being like, hey, if we've gotten the votes and it's been 48 hours and we haven't had any -1s, then we're good.
Does this include weekends and non-business days?
I mean, that's a good question, and I think that's probably one of the biggest objections.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ASF rationale around like a 3-day floor, and they never did include, they always included weekends, but it was sort of frowned upon to rely on that, was that people are in different time zones and you want to make sure everyone at least has an opportunity to vote on something.
Right, exactly. 72 hours is way too low for those.
72 hours is too low.
I think so, yeah.
It's too low.
So the reason I say it's too low is like in case we started on a Friday or something, there's like
Well,
a weekend.
say you excluded weekends. 72 hours excluding weekends. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think then it's potentially feasible because, yeah, 72 hours is like wide enough across the whole world's time zones.
Yeah, I think it could also be up to the person who opened up the issue, right? I mean, obviously lean more towards hitting that 3-day work day. But if they know they opened it on a Friday, then it's like, all right, wait till Wednesday until you close it. Just make sure you get the most visibility, because I think looking at your slide where there were some ideas that drew no votes, right? It's like, what does that mean there? There's two things you can unpack. It's whether someone didn't read the discussion post and felt like they didn't have enough context, or there's people that didn't disagree, or they disagreed with it and they just didn't want to put -1, which I don't really believe. I don't have enough context to make that claim, but it's just possibilities there. I think it's just a matter of getting the right eyes on the part of the project where you're voting on. Right. Like, for instance, if I'm raising something in FPS, I'd probably lean more towards getting some votes with people in that project, that side, right? Like Funwo or Yang.
Yeah, that is fair. Like these are minimums, not the exact moment something needs to close.
One other point about the first one there. So I think that is not like it complements the 72-hour case in the second one, right? Like if you say merge as soon as the threshold is met, and let's say we meet the threshold in less than 72 hours, both can hold true, right? We can actually have an early close as well. Right now we don't. So in some ways, this is like a solution in one sort of approach.
What do you mean by that? I think right now the expectation is you can't, like the 72 hours or the 1 week is a floor. Like you can't early close.
Yeah, right.
Even if
okay.
you want
So
to close.
got it. Yeah. So that's what you're suggesting with the 72 hours. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know in Apache is like if we had two votes and they were binding, but we need one more within that 72 hour, I usually would ping someone and say, hey, take a look that I know can put a binding vote. And then as soon as that's through, then I can merge that in.
Yeah. So I guess here's two that I might propose. And based on sort of like what I'm feedback. One is just reduce the 1 week to 72 hours, excluding weekends. And just be like, all right, as long as you got that has passed and you got the +3 votes, then you're good to merge. The other would be, it's been 72 hours, maybe excluding weekends, past the point at which you got those 3 votes. So you put up a PR and you got the 3 votes, then you've had, no -1s on it for 72 hours. Then you can close it.
Seems like there's no objections to that. Yeah.
Which of those two? I presented two. One is 72 hours from the start, from when you open the PR, or 72 hours since you got 3 votes.
Yeah,
72 from 3 votes is a little. I think we can say 72 hours from when the PR is marked ready for review. Sorry, Sharma. And
okay.
rely on people to just behave in a positive way.
Oh yeah, for the my intention is to speed the workflow up. So I prefer to have the time flow to start with the PR being opened. I think.
Excluding weekends, like Friday means it's still Wednesday of the next week. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because the 72 hours include the weekend in period. That's why we have 3 days for the voting. And I think to wait another 3 days after voting passed, it feels like I don't know too long, I guess.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. Okay. Last question. I think this was proposed in another meeting. One thing is like the question is, should we bring breaking changes? Should that be in scope for votes? I think in Weston, it was you who said, like, sometimes I think people would care more about voting on breaking changes than they would on the format changes only.
Yeah, I mean, I guess part of the question is like, who is voting? People that are using this library and helping to develop and add new features to it, or we don't have. I really phrase the question as like, what changes should be in scope? I'd almost prefer like, yes, breaking changes should be in scope, and not so many format changes should be in scope, or specification changes. But I think breaking changes have much higher impact on users than spec changes at the moment, because we can make a change to a spec that's forward compatible, backward compatible, no user ever cares or even knows. Like, we've added 3 details to zone maps. No users cared. They just saw things got faster. It didn't actually change their experience at all, because we don't have anyone else that's taking our zone map indexes yet and writing different implementations for reading or writing those indexes. Same with like but like we could make major extreme changes that would have big impacts on users that we don't vote on. And we could also make things that are arguably spec changes that users don't vote on. So like because right now we're just gating on proto files, which is, I think, somewhat arbitrary. So like we could change what we actually record in the index files, or the structures of the index files themselves, like FTS, V1, V2, V3. Those are not technically spec changes, or I don't know if we voted on them or not, because the proto files didn't change. But even from like a specification standpoint, you would argue that those are completely different changes. So I think my argument more is that gating .proto files changes is arbitrary. It's frustrating because a lot of those changes are forwards and backwards compatible, and they don't feel like they should need a vote. And it's missing things that could actually be changes in behavior that I think we do want to vote on, or might be at least more potentially interesting to other people to start voting on. Like, I think if you tell people, hey, we're going to change the way that fields are presented, or I don't know, something, then I don't know. I guess the question for me is less, should breaking library changes be in scope, and be like, what changes require special voting in the first place? Because like other projects, I think we've been influenced a lot by Arrow and Parquet and Iceberg, which have all followed a certain style. But that's not even necessarily the Apache style. Like the Apache style is every code change requires a vote. And usually that's just done through PR approval and lazy consensus. There's no rules in the Apache guidelines anywhere that say like there's a format change versus a non-format change, or like these changes require special vote. There's releases and there's code changes, and that's all that's really called out in the Apache way. So like we've landed on this format changes require a vote, and we define format changes as proto file changes, and all other changes don't require a vote. And that seems really great for us, because we aren't like Arrow or Parquet or Iceberg in that we don't at the moment have people building different independent implementations. Like all our bindings are wrapped around the Rust implementation.
Yeah, I mean, but it is an explicit design goal to be just like a table format that you could read in theory from a different library. So I do think there does exist a format versus library distinction. Yeah, but I do think you're right. I think there is a bigger question of what should be in scope for votes and what should not, and what that process looks like. I think I tried to figure out some way to slice it, and I have not successfully figured out a way that makes sense yet. But I think where I lean on this is actually just to punt this and think about it a little longer and just try to move forward with trying to figure out changing where we vote and how long we wait to vote. Yep. And then figure out what's in scope later. That sound fair?
Yep.
Okay. So in summary, I think the places where we land where we think we want to change things is, I think, on this question, we want to propose doing the PR only. And on this question, propose start the vote when the PR opens, minimum 72 hours excluding weekends. And that's the only two changes.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Yeah, so we do have some custom items to discuss from community members. Is Yuval on the call?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Yuval. Thanks for your patience. Yeah, I'm going to open your two PRs here, but you can feel free to start your points of discussion.
Yeah, so one of them is the PR, the other one is just an issue. The two are pretty much around using SQL and the API. And I already did that in one place, and that was the PR. It was merged, but there were two other places where we're still forcing to use SQL and not allowing the data fusion API to happen. And eventually, everything is translated into data fusion. So this is kind of inefficient. So the one PR that I have is for the upsert interface for kind of split merge of vectors. There is some issue with the fact that the column names are surrounded automatically by backticks, and this is causing fallback to the SQL implementation. And this is pretty unnecessary because everything is actually done eventually using data fusion. The other one is a little less critical because it only handles the case where we pass in a predicate, and currently it can only be a SQL predicate. Well, if we need a predicate, doing that directly in data fusion again is more efficient.
Hey, Yuval, could you quickly confirm, are you implementing these on top of Lance, the PyLance repo, or are you using LanceDB?
So I think that one of them is in the Lance repo, the one with the removing the backtick, so we don't fall back to SQL. The other one is only an issue. I didn't implement that yet. For me, this is a little less critical or less urgent. So I just opened an issue, but the issue there is open on the LanceDB repo because this is a simple thing. Just expose the data fusion API to the function, and that's it. I already implemented something similar for the deletion. So to make the deletion predicate also data fusion based or optionally data fusion based and not only SQL based. But I can do this PR as well.
So I guess you're looking for clarity on should you go ahead and implement the second PR, and you want a review on the first PR, right?
Yes, yes.
Right. Yeah, I think if there's no objection to that, you should go ahead and make the implementation. Any comments from anyone else on the call?
Yeah, I mean, I can take a look at the first PR. I think, yeah, I think anything we can do to make the parsing work is good. We just want to make sure we're not regressing any other cases, like cases where you have special characters in column names, cases where you have mixed case and column names, nested cases. Those are all things that I think some of the backticks in there are to support. So as long as we're not regressing any of those cases, I think we're good to probably go with that path.
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And is this also your question, Yuval, the deleted row stats? I'm not sure if you posted that or someone else did. Okay.
Yeah, this is my question. This is a different topic. This is something I actually looking for feedback because this is like a more difficult or general question. So I'm using the table stacks to get the count for unindexed rows. This is something super useful if I want to know when to reindex stuff. But I was looking for a way to actually do table compaction or index compaction for the case that I have lots of deleted rows. And I couldn't find something built in. So one thing I can do, I can kind of implement that on top of LanceDB using like table metadata or something like that. But the indentation and also would be kind of would have accuracy and accuracy issues when we're talking about additional systems. So I was wondering if there's a way to actually get the deleted row that counts from the stack.
For a table, that should be pretty simple to compute. I don't know if we expose that as a utility function, but I think we could definitely add that for a table. For an index, I think that might be more complicated because of the way we handle the fragment bitmap. And so that's probably worth a separate issue to investigate if we can figure out if that's possible.
Okay, so again, maybe if you can point me to somewhere in the code where if this is simple at table level to just add expose those stacks already in the table and it's just a matter of exposing them, then maybe I can set myself. But I feel that this might be more architectural change that might be challenging for me to actually implement.
Yeah, so at the table level, all you have to do is there's an API to get all the fragments in a table. And every fragment has these two fields. One is number of physical rows, and the other one actually no, it has a number of deleted rows. And so if you just sum the number of deletions across all those fragments, you'll get the total number of deleted rows in the table. So that's all it is at the table level. It's more complicated at the fragment level, or at the index level, because indexes might refer to fragments that have completely disappeared from the table. Or they might point to fragments that have been invalidated. And in those cases, it's more complicated to reconstruct.
Okay, so for me, getting the fact at table level would be more good enough for it. Great that. All right, so if you have those counts anyway, it's just a matter of going through all the fragments and accumulating them. That's probably expensive.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just look at that and open it here.
Yep. Makes sense, Yuval. Yeah, you can go ahead with that PR. Awesome. Yeah, if there's anything else, reach out to us on Discord. We can clarify further. I think we have a couple of issues here from Andrew or Ragnar, if you want to speak up.
Yeah. So I have a couple of questions. First of all, about the WL. So I track its evolution, and it looks like it's going from just being like a durable sort of like notebook or scratchpad. It's evolving into some kind of like almost its own database or the streaming engine, right? So like I'm curious, like what are your plans with it? And maybe you could maybe you could just like jam a little bit on your thinking about this, where it's going to be evolving, because this is the feature that I'm particularly was working in the recent couple of weeks. Overall it's just awesome. So, and now we're using it heavily. So I just want to figure out like, kind of what is your thinking about it, and plans and strategy.
Yes, is Jack on the call by any chance? If not, then I guess we can summarize it very briefly.
Yeah, it looks like Jack is not here.
Yeah. If there's anyone else, I guess, who wants to chime in, but from what I understand, Memwal is largely being driven by customer needs, and they're kind of bringing some of those from the enterprise that we're building, but also back into the open source. Like it's kind of in the reverse direction as is normally done. So regarding streaming use cases, I don't know if we are building for specifically that. The whole purpose of this is that it's designed for the exact case where you have a high number of writes coming in, not specifically for streaming workloads. I don't think Lance in general is targeting the streaming use case as such, but maybe others can chime in if they have heard otherwise.
Well, I would say it's a lower level of abstraction, the problem we're solving, which is just higher transactions per second. And maybe that enables a streaming workflow. It certainly enables one part of a streaming workflow, which is if you have a bunch of data streaming in with small writes, that would be a problem today. With a higher transactions per second, it's no longer as much of a problem. I don't know enough about streaming workflows to say that it solves all streaming workflow problems. But I would hope we could probably solve those problems if there are others.
Subset of the problems, I think. That's kind of the way they're viewing it. It's not a streaming first viewpoint of how we're designing it. But yeah, the key problem being resolved is high throughput writes and small transactions, because we can't assume that everyone has a lot of bulk transactions in their use cases.
That's exactly what I mean by streaming. I guess it's you're right. It's like a different way to sort of conceptualize it, but that's exactly my definition. So sorry, I didn't define it, but that's exactly what I mean, just like.
But to your point, this is basically a first-class feature that's coming in now to Lance OSS, and Jack is doing a lot of work on this. The whole implementation, I think, is kind of making its way into OSS now. You'll see a lot more things, PRs in recent times. If there's any specific things that you've noticed that are feature gaps, that's definitely worth opening a discussion on, or maybe talking about it on calls like this.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, overall, pretty much my kind of question was like, how much you're planning to invest into this? But your answer is
a lot.
Coming from enterprise, so a lot, right? So it's already implemented. This is what I saw, by the way, like partially in the LanceDB in the OSS version as well. So I already kind of sensed this direction, but I just wanted to clarify. And it's cool that we align on this. Yeah.
And you had a comment about the garbage collection regarding the PR.
Yeah. So this is like another part about the WL. So clearly, there is one part of WL that is, as I understand, it's also implemented in enterprise version. That is just clean up the sort of the files that are no longer needed, and for that you need to have this sort of fencing and acknowledgement. And I see there's also like a lot of work down there. So it's pretty much the same question. Like as I understand, you also want to implement the garbage collection fully in the OSS, so to solve this problem like end to end.
Well, we should probably be clear that a sort of the full memwall setup is going to require dedicated infrastructure to some degree. It's basically an in-memory persistence thing that you're going to be continuously writing to. It will accumulate writes and writes. And if you have a bunch of different distributed writers, for example, you would need to organize all that. There are going to be pieces that will stay enterprise. I think maybe like automatic garbage collection, hosting the actual service. I don't know enough of the details of WAL to say exactly which parts stay enterprise and which parts are moving into OSS. But I don't want to imply that like all capabilities that are enterprise today will be usable in OSS in the same way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Also, like on my side, I pretty much implemented the garbage collection on like downstream. So I'm wondering if I should also like maybe port the parts of it to the SDK, because this is the place where it actually should be, because the stuff that I built is way more clunky, right? Because it it pretty much kind of have the acknowledgement only after everything is done. So I kind of need to just do a lot of work, which is in SDK. It's just like a natural place for it to be. So I'm wondering if this is the direction we can also take and just explore, just to implement the garbage collection as the part. And this is the PR that I saw today, open like 97, that is takes this direction pretty much, yeah, as it is.
So quick question, Andrew. So were you saying that you might piggyback off of this PR or maybe potentially add your comments here?
Well, more like so I'll be keen to contribute the full garbage collection into the Lance SDK. So if that's if that's something that you're aligned with, I can do like PR into that, like I issue NPR in this direction or discussion NPR in this direction. So that pretty much boils down to the beginning of the conversation, like how do we want to?
Yeah,
I guess it's more like to the previous. To the previous meeting where we discussed like what should be the right way to sort of start the contribution.
I think it's worth commenting on this PR and also opening an issue to discuss this further, and maybe tag Jack in the process, because he's deeply intertwined with all these different angles of what goes into OSS and I guess what features are being added on.
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
Yeah,
tagging Dan Rammer as well would be a good idea.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you know Dan Rammer, who's not on the call today, but yeah, you can if you don't tag him, you can ping me and I'll ensure he's tagged on it.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, thanks a lot for those questions. And yeah, you can definitely follow Memval as we go along. It's going to be a heavily worked on feature because I've been seeing a lot of activity and talked to Jack about this as well. So yeah. Okay, so we are running short on time, I think. Yeah, we have 10 more minutes. So what is Lance Gatekeeper about here? Anyone care to speak up?
Yeah, this journey is added by me.
Okay.
I want to introduce a new service for our community. This service called Lance Gatekeeper. And it's just something like cloud review and codex review, but managed by LanceDB. And in LanceDB, we deployed such a service, and this service will take the responsibility to do the first round of review. That means for every new PR created, Lance Gatekeeper will just trying to do the gatekeeper about the PR. It will just to check why you created this PR and what's the problem about the PR, and do we have better solutions for this, and trying to catch up some bugs in the PR. And after Lance Gatekeeper give the approve, and our maintainer can join the PR and we do another round of review. And finally, we can get the PR merged in. So I hope Lance Gatekeeper can improve our overall experience about the contributions for our new contributors, and we can just have faster feedback instead of just waiting and pinging maintainer to take a look on your PR.
Great feature,
I want
absolutely.
to add that is Lance Gatekeeper is quite new and it's just deployed today. So welcome to give me my feedback about this surface. Feedback includes some bugs. For example, Lance Gatekeeper didn't being triggered as we expected in your PR, or something wrong messages. Also, you can also give me feedback about the quality, about the review. For example, if you feel like the output about the API is incorrect or is wrong, or it's just helpless, so please let me know, and I will try to make it better.
Awesome, Sharma. Thanks. I had a couple of questions. So this reproducer feature, it's intended for the contributor of the PR to basically use the snippets that it's found and kind of ensure that they incorporate that feedback, right? It's basically like a helper for the user to go in and reproduce and try out the concept on their end. Right.
I expect contributors can use this to quickly identify the problem about this PR.
Got it. And then triggering this gatekeeper, is it automatically done? Because I notice here that it's done it once before, but then when new commits came in, it triggered again and redid the review. But is it manually requested or is it automatically triggered?
It's automatically being triggered when your PR it has been marked as ready for review. And for all PRs, you can just request review from Nest community. Yeah, that's all.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. I'm sure people will try this out as they send their PRs in. And we have one more point of discussion. Document granularity. Yeah.
This is very simple one. It's a long PR being open and it's just waiting for another two votes.
Got it. So this goes back to our earlier discussion. The voting happens here in the PR.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it happens.
Sorry, repeat that, Will.
It happens in the discussion still.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm proposing changes, but those changes need to take effect after a PMC vote.
Got it. Okay, so this one will still go into the discussion. Great. Yeah, I think we're kind of approaching the end of time. So if there's anything else that we didn't cover today or you want to cover, please bring it up on Discord. And also to close the loop on what we discussed earlier in this meeting, I think we've highlighted two things that we're going to change about the voting process. I think, Will, it makes sense we should summarize that so that we can post that to the community, right? That way they know that this is what's happening. But other than that, I think we will refine the process as we go along and we'll continue bringing those points up in these calls. If not anything more, then I think we can call it a day today. Thanks, everyone. We'll be in touch on Discord. Thank you so much.